Folks, I present to you the childhood home of Brooke Shields at 440 Haworth Avenue, Haworth, New Jersey. Now, I was the number one Brooke, and still am the number one fan of Brooke Shields in the entire world. I haven't been in this house, but I've been by it many times. And most of all, I met Brooke Shields in 1991 at an episode clothing store opening and some type of benefit that was going on there that night. And I met Brooke Shields and her mother and spoke to both of them. But I would have never known that this was where the home of Brooke Shields was had it not been for a girl that I met on the Rutgers junior year in France in 1982, 1983, who I think she lived in Haworth or lived in the area. I'm pretty sure she lived in Haworth. Now, previous to meeting this girl on the trip, I thought the most I knew was that Brooke Shields, as far as I knew at that time, lived in Englewood, New Jersey. Now, Englewood is in the area, but it's several towns away from Haworth, and was way off the mark for somebody that wanted to know where Brooke Shields' actual house was. So, the chances are that of my meeting this girl on the trip and finding this out were pretty low, but maybe my guardian angel was looking out for me and said, Friedman, if anybody deserves to know where Brooke Shields lives, it's him. So we'll put these two together and let her tell him about the house. But I remember being on the trip on one of the day trips in France, and telling this girl, "Oh, I know where Brooke Shields lives. She lives in Englewood." And she said, no, she doesn't live in Englewood. I live in Haworth, and I know for a fact that she lives in Haworth. So I remember that very clearly back in the day on the trip. I don't remember the girl's name. She was a black girl, but that's not really important. Maybe it is because she was the only black girl, as far as I remember, the only black girl on the trip. But anyway, there were 20 students from Rutgers and 20 students from other schools that were invited, that were able to participate in this junior year in France, in Paris, 5 weeks in Paris, and about 7 months in Tours, France. But anyway, another thing I want to mention is I remember that I read an article about this house, and supposedly, I think it was a fact that there was some type of escape room, panic room, that if somebody were to enter the home, an intruder, that Brooke Shields and her mother, or either one of them or both, could go into the escape room and be safe from harm until help came. So I'm pretty sure that's an accurate story. And the other thing I remember reading about what happened in this house is that after Brooke Shields had moved out, her mother's mental mind started to go. Now, the night I met her, she was as sharp as a tack. Well, the sharpest, Brooke Shields' mother was one of the sharpest, wittiest people I've ever met in my life. Make no mistake about it. But at some point, her mind did start to decline, and they talked to somebody mentioned to some journalist that they were in the house, and the house was quite a mess inside, and then they knew at that point that the woman was, she was beyond hope, I guess, and they had to put her in some type of home at that point. But one interesting thing about this town is there's a little mini downtown, not to, walking distance from this house, about 10, 15 minutes away. There's a pizzeria, there's several shops. So it's a nice place to live. You have some kind of convenience of being able to go somewhere. You can't get all your shopping done, but some of it. At least there's a pizzeria to go to that's, walkable. Whereas most of the towns in this area I do not believe, have such a miniature village. But that's definitely stood out to me as something that was interesting about the town of Haworth. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to mention. I also want to mention I met two French girls that were staying with a family from this town. Actually, just about, maybe 6 houses away from Brooke Shields' house. That was just coincidental that I met these French girls and they were staying in this other house. But the lady of the household in that other house looked just like the lady from Seinfeld. I can't remember her name, but the famous lady from Seinfeld looked just like her. But anyway, I remember that. And okay, so we'll wrap it up. If you have any questions about this is 440 Haworth Avenue. Oh, the house is currently valued, I think, at $2.5 million, which I think, given the location and given how and the house was built in 1932. Given how interesting looking the house is, I think that's a fair price. It's probably not a fair price, but it's a realistic price given today's real estate market, inflated real estate market. So signing off, again, it's Mark Friedman, the biggest Brooke Shields fan in the world. And again, any questions, leave in the comments.